When you finally face yourself in the mirror and in reality, it can be a powerful and sometimes unsettling experience. Looking at your own reflection can bring up a range of emotions and reveal truths about yourself that you may have been avoiding. Here's some things to consider when you finally face yourself in the mirror and in reality. 1. Self-reflection. When you finally face yourself in the mirror and in reality, it provides an opportunity for self-reflection. You may start to question your actions, beliefs, and decisions, leading to a deeper understanding of who you are and what you stand for. 2. Acceptance. Facing yourself in the mirror can also be a moment of self-acceptance. You may begin to appreciate your flaws and imperfections, recognizing that they are a part of what makes you unique and special. 3. Self-awareness. Looking at your reflection can increase your self-awareness. You may notice patterns in your behavior or reactions that you hadn't realized before, allowing you to make positive changes in your life. 4. Authenticity. When you finally face yourself in the mirror, it can be a call to authenticity. You may feel compelled to be true to yourself and honor your values and beliefs, even if it means facing difficult truths or making challenging decisions. 5. Strengths and weaknesses. Seeing yourself in the mirror can help you identify your strengths and weaknesses. By acknowledging both, you can work towards leveraging your strengths and improving upon your weaknesses. 6. Empathy. Facing yourself in the mirror can also cultivate empathy towards yourself and others. You may begin to understand your own struggles and challenges, leading to a greater sense of compassion and understanding towards those around you. 7. Inner voice. Looking at your reflection can bring you in touch with your inner voice. You may hear thoughts and feelings that have been buried beneath the surface, allowing you to listen to your intuition and make choices that align with your true self. 8. Growth. Facing yourself in the mirror can be a catalyst for personal growth. By acknowledging where you are currently at and where you want to be, you can set goals and take steps towards becoming the best version of yourself. 9. Vulnerability. Seeing yourself in the mirror can also bring up feelings of vulnerability. You may feel exposed and raw, but embracing this vulnerability can lead to immense growth and connection with others. 10. Self-love. When you finally face yourself in the mirror, it can be a moment to cultivate self-love. You may start to appreciate your own worth and value, recognizing that you are deserving of love and respect. 11. Authentic connections. Facing yourself in the mirror can lead to more authentic connections with others. By being true to yourself, you can attract people who appreciate and support you for who you are. 12. Letting go of expectations. Looking at your reflection can help you let go of societal expectations and norms. You may realize that you don't have to fit into a certain mold to be worthy or successful, leading to a sense of freedom and autonomy. 13. Forgiveness. Facing yourself in the mirror can also be a moment of forgiveness. You may let go of past mistakes and regrets, allowing yourself to move forward with a sense of grace and compassion. 14. Clarity. When you finally face yourself in the mirror and in reality, it can bring clarity to your life. You may gain a greater sense of purpose and direction, leading to a more fulfilling and meaningful existence. 15. Authentic self-expression. Looking at your reflection can inspire you to express yourself authentically. You may feel emboldened to share your true thoughts, feelings, and passions with the world, leading to deeper connections and a sense of fulfillment. In conclusion, facing yourself in the mirror and in reality can be a transformative experience. By embracing who you are, acknowledging your strengths and weaknesses, and cultivating self-love and authenticity, you can live a more fulfilling and meaningful life. Take the time to reflect on these outlines when you finally face yourself in the mirror, and see how it can lead to personal growth and a deeper connection with yourself and others. 10 Down WJ presents A Storm of Judgment and Grace. As the snow began to swirl outside, casting a gray shadow over the town, I hurried into the grocery store, my mind racing with thoughts of the impending storm. The local news had warned of a significant snowfall, and like many others, I was here to stock up on essentials: bread, milk, and a few comfort foods to last through the blizzard. The moment I entered the grocery store, I was taken aback by the atmosphere. The aisles were crowded, and the air was thick with urgency. People moved swiftly, their carts filled to the brim as they prepared for the cold. But it wasn't just the frantic shopping that caught my attention. It was a group of individuals gathered near the meat department, their voices rising above the hum of the store. Curiosity piqued, I made my way over to see what was causing such a stir. As I approached, I could hear snippets of conversation. A middle-aged man, his face flushed with fervor, stood at the center of the group, gesturing passionately as he spoke. He was proclaiming a message that sent ripples of discomfort through the crowd. Jesus warned us over 2,000 years ago, he declared, his voice booming. And yet look at you all. You're rushing to fill your carts with food, but where is your urgency to seek him? Where is your faith? The words hung in the air like a heavy fog. A few people nodded, but many others looked away, their expressions a mix of annoyance and defensiveness. I felt a wave of disapproval wash over me as I witnessed this man's condemnation. While his message held a grain of truth, his delivery felt harsh and misplaced. Instead of encouraging those around him, he was pushing them further away. I glanced down at my jacket, the words, "With God, all things are possible," emblazoned across the fabric. In that moment, I realized that I could carry a message without uttering a single word. The sentiment reminded me that even amidst the storm brewing outside, there was a deeper storm within the hearts of those gathered around the meat department: fear, uncertainty, and perhaps a longing for something more than just physical sustenance. As I stood there, I couldn't help but reflect on the man's words. His comparison of grocery shopping to seeking Jesus was thought-provoking. In times of crisis, it seemed that people instinctively prioritized their physical needs over their spiritual ones. I understood the urgency of stocking up on provisions. After all, a snowstorm could leave us isolated for days. Yet, there was an undeniable truth in the need for spiritual nourishment, something that many seemed to overlook in the chaos of life. The man continued, his voice rising in intensity. You think a full fridge will save you from the storm. What about the storms of your soul? Only Jesus can truly provide for you. I could feel the tension in the air, and it struck me that while he sought to share a message of hope, his approach was rooted in judgment. Instead of drawing people in, he was pushing them away. I wondered how different the scene would be if he conveyed his message with love and compassion, rather than condemnation. What if he invited others to explore their faith rather than chastising them for their priorities? As I quietly observed, I caught the eye of a young woman nearby. She looked bewildered, her cart filled with groceries and her expression a mixture of confusion and hurt. I felt a sense of empathy wash over me. I wanted to reach out to her, to remind her that even in the midst of chaos, there was a hope that transcended our circumstances. Excuse me, I said softly, approaching her. I couldn't help but overhear what he was saying. I believe there's a way to share faith that encourages rather than judges. It's okay to be here, preparing for the storm. We're all human, and we all have our struggles. Her eyes flickered with gratitude, and for a moment, the heaviness in the air seemed to lift. Thank you, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. I just wanted to get through this shopping trip without feeling guilty. As we spoke, I realized that there were many others around us who likely felt the same way. The storm brewing outside mirrored the turmoil within, and perhaps we were all seeking a sense of reassurance. With each passing moment, I felt a growing conviction that I needed to embody the message I believed in, demonstrating grace and understanding in a chaotic world. After a few minutes, the man's voice rose above the crowd once more. You're all so focused on the physical. Don't you see? The real food you need is Jesus. His words echoed in the store, and I watched as some shoppers rolled their eyes while others continued to pass judgment on him. What would Jesus do? I thought to myself. It was a question often posed, yet difficult to answer in practice. Would he stand on a soapbox, condemning those who were simply trying to take care of their families? Or would he join them, offering a listening ear and a gentle word of encouragement? In that moment of reflection, I felt a nudge from within, a reminder that our actions often speak louder than our words. I wanted to be a vessel of hope, demonstrating that faith could coexist with the mundane realities of life. Perhaps, I could share a word of kindness with those around me, reminding them that they were not alone in their struggles. As I continued my shopping, I passed by the meat department once more. The crowd had grown thinner, and the man stood alone, a look of frustration etched on his face. I approached him, feeling a mix of apprehension and determination. Excuse me, I said, my voice steady. I appreciate your passion for sharing a message of faith, but I think there's a way to express that love without casting judgment. People are here, trying to prepare for a storm, and that doesn't diminish their need for God." He looked taken aback, his expression shifting from anger to contemplation. "I just want them to understand the urgency of the situation," he replied, a hint of vulnerability creeping into his tone. "I understand," I replied gently. "But sometimes, people need to feel safe before they can open their hearts. It's in moments of kindness and compassion that we can truly reach others." The man fell silent for a moment, and I could see the wheels turning in his mind. Perhaps my words had struck a chord, and he was beginning to see that the way we convey our beliefs can have a profound impact on others. As I finished my shopping and made my way to the checkout line, I couldn't shake the weight of the encounter. It had stirred something deep within me, a reminder of the importance of humility and grace in our interactions with others. I had witnessed the power of words and actions, both in their ability to uplift and to wound. While the man's message held truth, it also underscored the need for love in sharing faith. In a world rife with uncertainties, we must strive to embody the very essence of the gospel: compassion, understanding, and the gentle nudge of hope. In the days that followed, as the snow piled high outside my window, I found myself reflecting on that day in the grocery store. The storm had come and gone, but the lessons I learned remained etched in my heart. I was reminded of the importance of prioritizing my own relationship with God, recognizing that even in the mundane moments of life, there was an opportunity to share His love with others. The encounter had served as a catalyst for change within me. I began to approach my daily life with a renewed sense of purpose, seeking opportunities to convey kindness and understanding. Whether it was through a smile at a neighbor or a helping hand to a stranger, I realized that even the smallest gestures could reflect the light of Christ in a world that often felt dark. As winter gave way to spring, I continued to carry the message on my jacket as a reminder of the possibilities that come with faith. I realized that storms may come and go, but the hope we find in God is a constant source of strength. And so, I made it my mission to share that hope, quietly, gently, and with a heart full of grace. In doing so, I found that my own faith deepened, and my perspective on life transformed. The storms of life would always be present, but I held on to the belief that with God, all things are truly possible. 10 Down WJ presents Echoes of the Soul. As Brother Boone cruised the city in the ice-cold morning, the streets illuminated by a cacophony of lights, all he could hear was the voice echoing in his head, "It's getting hard for me to ignore the spiritual part of me that wants to hear Christ and not just lyrical artistry." The city pulsed around him, alive with the rhythms of hip-hop beats and the whispers of street preachers, each vying for his attention in a world that felt increasingly fragmented. Brother Boone had spent years navigating the duality of his existence, a man of faith in a world that often seemed to mock it. As a mentor in the community, he was expected to embody the teachings of Christ, yet every day felt like a struggle against the tide of temptation and doubt. The allure of the vibrant nightlife, the seductive lyrics of the latest rap tracks, and the stories of his friends who found solace in the streets instead of the pews constantly tugged at his spirit. This morning, the chill in the air was sharper, and with it came a reflection on his own journey. Boone turned the volume down on the radio, letting the beats fade into the background. He could feel the weight of expectations pressing against him, the expectations of his congregation, of his family, and most importantly, of himself. He was supposed to be the beacon of hope, a guiding light for those lost in the darkness, but he found himself grappling with an internal battle that felt all too familiar. He drove through the heart of the city, past the bars and clubs where laughter mingled with the sound of clinking glasses. The streets were filled with people, some seeking joy, others fleeing pain. He saw a group of young men huddled together, their laughter ringing out like a siren's call. Boone felt a pang of longing. He missed the camaraderie of his youth, the nights spent rapping with friends beneath the stars, dreaming of a life that felt within reach. But those dreams had been overshadowed by the responsibilities of adulthood. As a mentor, he had chosen a path of service, yet he felt increasingly disconnected from the very community he sought to uplift. The juxtaposition of his faith and the world around him felt like an insurmountable chasm, one he was desperate to cross. As he pulled up to a familiar corner, he spotted a small group of young adults gathered near a graffiti-covered wall. They were rapping, their voices rising and falling in a rhythm that drew him in like a moth to a flame. Boone parked the car and stepped out, the cold air biting at his skin, but he hardly noticed. What mattered was the music, the raw energy that crackled in the air. Yo, Brother Boone, one of the bros called out, a grin breaking across his face. You here to drop some bars? Boone chuckled, a mix of pride and hesitation swelling in his chest. He had always been the one to encourage the others, to remind them of their potential. But right then, he wasn't sure if he had it in him to join their ranks. I'm just here to listen, he replied, leaning against the wall. The group continued to rap, their words weaving tales of struggle, hope, and resilience. Boone closed his eyes, letting the rhythm wash over him, feeling the resonance of truth in their lyrics. They were speaking of their lives, their battles, and their dreams. In that moment, he understood that they were searching for something greater, just as he was. One of the bros, a gifted lyricist named Malik, caught Boone's eye. He had a spark in his eyes that reminded Boone of his own younger self. Malik's verses were filled with longing, an expression of the spiritual void that many of them felt. We're just trying to find our way, man, he said, his voice raw with emotion. Sometimes it feels like we're lost in this world, you know. Like we're just chasing shadows. Boone's heart ached at Malik's words. He knew that feeling all too well. I get that, he said softly, stepping closer. But what if I told you that there's a way to find the light in the darkness? The group fell silent, their eyes fixed on him. Boone took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his own struggles. I've been where you are. I've chased dreams that led me astray, but I found my way back through faith. Christ is the answer you're looking for. Malik raised an eyebrow, skepticism etched on his face. But what if faith isn't enough? What if it doesn't give us the answers we need? Boone nodded, understanding the young man's doubt. Faith isn't a magic solution. It's a journey. It's about finding purpose and meaning in the chaos. It's okay to question, to seek. But don't let the noise drown out what your heart truly desires. As the day grew colder on, Boone shared his story, weaving together the threads of his past with the struggles of the young adults before him. They listened, captivated by the honesty of his words. In return, they opened up about their own struggles, their fears, and their dreams. The conversation flowed easily, the barriers that had once separated them slowly dissolving. I've been thinking about starting a music program, Boone admitted, his voice filled with hope. A place where you guys can express yourselves, where your voices can be heard. We can combine the artistry of hip-hop with messages of hope and faith. Malik's eyes lit up at the idea. That could be dope. We could get the formerly incarcerated and homeless involved, too. It'd be a way to reach those who feel lost, just like us. Boone felt a surge of excitement. This was what he had been missing, a sense of community, a shared purpose. Perhaps this was the bridge he had been searching for, a way to connect the spiritual with the artistic. The thought of bringing together his two passions ignited a fire within him. As the group prepared to leave, Boone felt a sense of fulfillment wash over him. The cold morning air no longer felt so oppressive, instead, it felt invigorating. He had found a spark of hope, a reminder that the spiritual part of him could coexist with the lyrical artistry of the streets. The weeks that followed were filled with late nights and brainstorming sessions as Boone worked tirelessly to launch the music program. He reached out to local artists, securing a space where they could gather. The excitement among the young adults was palpable, and Boone felt a renewed sense of purpose. On the first night of the program, the community center buzzed with energy. Young adults filled the space, their laughter and chatter mingling with the sound of beats thumping in the background. Boone stood at the front, a mix of nerves and anticipation swirling within him. He had invited Malik and a few other talented artists to lead the session, and they were ready to share their gifts. As the night unfolded, Boone watched in awe as the young adults poured their hearts into their music. They rapped about their struggles, their dreams, and their faith. The lyrics flowed like a river, raw and unfiltered, a testament to the power of expression. Boone felt a profound connection to each story, each line resonating with his own journey. In that moment, he realized that the spiritual part of him was not separate from the artistry of their music, it was woven into the very fabric of their expression. The beats and the lyrics became a conduit for something greater, a shared experience of struggle, hope, and love. As the program grew, so did Boone's understanding of his own faith. He began to see Christ not just as a figure in a book, but as a living presence in the lives of those around him. The young adults he worked with were teaching him as much as he was teaching them, and he felt grateful for the lessons they shared. One night, as the program came to a close, Malik approached Boone with a thoughtful expression. "You know, man, you've changed the way I see things. It's like you opened a door I didn't even know was there." Boone smiled, feeling a warmth spread through him. "You all have opened my eyes, too. This journey is about all of us. We're in this together." As the weeks turned into months, the music program flourished, becoming a safe haven for young adults seeking solace in their creativity. Boone found himself embracing his role not just as a mentor, a friend, and a fellow traveler on the path of faith and artistry. One evening, as he drove home through the familiar streets of the city, he reflected on the transformation that had taken place, not just in the lives of the young adults he had worked with, but in his own heart as well. The voice that had once echoed in his mind began to fade, replaced by a new understanding. He no longer felt torn between the spiritual and the artistic. Instead, he embraced both as vital aspects of his identity. As the winter chill settled over the city, Boone found solace in the realization that the journey was far from over. The streets still pulsed with life, the beats still echoed in the night, and the Spirit of Christ remained a guiding light in his heart. He understood that faith was not a destination but a lifelong journey, a journey filled with questions, struggles, and the beauty of connection. And as he cruised through the city, the ice-cold air no longer felt so isolating. Instead, it was a reminder of the warmth that resided within him, a warmth that came from embracing the spiritual part of himself while celebrating the lyrical artistry that surrounded him. In that moment, he knew he had found his place in the world, a bridge between two realms, a voice of hope in the chaos, and a reminder that even in the darkness, there is always a way to hear the echoes of the soul, leading one to repentance and a life holy and acceptable to God. 10 Down WJ, where creativity meets impact. 10 Down WJ, E-N-T